So, guys, once again, Nnamdi Kanu stood his ground, and once again, Nnamdi Kanu was victorious against Omotosho. Welcome to this YouTube channel. In case you're new to this YouTube channel, kindly hit the subscribe bell below because in this channel, I bring you everything that is trending and everything you need to know regarding Nnamdi Kanu. So the court was in session again today, and once again, Nnamdi Kanu proved to be stubborn to the Nigerian government and before Justice James Omotosho. Well, today's session is very, very interesting because Nnamdi Kanu was pressured into defense, but once again, Nnamdi Kanu backed off from that very defense. Well, I have the full transcript of everything that transpired in court today, but before displaying that very transcript for you, I want you to watch what Aloy Ejimakor, which is Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, had to say. Just watch the brief updates from Aloy Ejimakor, and after the brief update from Aloy Ejimakor, I'll be displaying the full transcript of everything that transpired in court today, from when Nnamdi Kanu was questioned by Justice James Omotosho to Nnamdi Kanu's reply, also to when the case was being adjourned. Watch the brief updates from Aloy Ejimakor, and after the updates, we are going to be heading straight to the full transcripts of what transpired in court today.
Are we ready? Yes. Well, greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the media. We have concluded today's hearing in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, and the crowning glory of it was that he put up a very good defense of himself, even though he was concentrating on the objections raised to the jurisdiction of the court. On that note, the court adjourned for further hearing to 7th of November, when the court expects that he will enter his full defense. Well, having said that, I know a lot of people have raised questions and eyebrows about the propriety of Nnamdi Kanu representing himself. It is his decision to make. He has a right under the Constitution to defend himself, and this case being politically charged, I think the idea or the notion that this is a normal criminal case has to be dispensed with. This is a not normal criminal case at all. If you want to understand the complexity of this case and the true political dimensions to it, you think of the case of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, or Obafemi Awolowo, Mahatma Gandhi. These cases were all politically tinged cases masquerading as criminal prosecutions. And these great men I mentioned, at some point in their struggle, at some point in their travail imposed on them by the state, they took the podium and defended themselves. So a politically charged case often comes with some unusual dimensions like this. So because, why? The reason is simple. Lawyers are restricted to very narrow wiggle room when they are doing a case. And that narrow wiggle room can be inimical, can be prejudicial to the interest of the client. When the case has a political dimension to it, that thing needs to be out there. That limitation we have is not expected of the defendant himself. So a lot of times, the defendant himself will make the best defense of his case at that very point in time. That does not obviate the fact that the presence of a lawyer in a case is always better. But in certain circumstances, there are exceptions, and the exception is, this one is one of the major exceptions. Thank you. Thank you.
So guys, let's head straight to the transcript of the day, and I'll be reading out everything that transpired in court today between Nnamdi Kanu and Justice James Omotosho in court. Again, court gives Nnamdi Kanu till November 7 to defend terrorism charges. And I read, Justice James Omotosho of a federal high court sitting in Abuja has given the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, till November 7, 2025 to defend the terrorism charges brought against him by the federal government or waive his rights to do so. Omotosho said Nnamdi Kanu has to open his defense on the 7th of November or relinquish his rights to do so. That is what that paragraph is saying. Let's continue. This is as Kanu stood his ground in the open court on Wednesday that there were no valid terrorism charges against him and would offer no defense to the one against him by the federal government. Nnamdi Kanu told Omotosho before he adjourned the case that he has no case to answer, that he won't open a defense just before that very case was being adjourned. Justice Omotosho, who offered Kanu another opportunity, said he granted the fresh opportunity to the defendants in the interests of justice and to the nation. At Wednesday's proceedings, when Kanu was called to open his defense, instead of doing so, the IPOB leader faulted the charges, insisting that he had nothing to defend in respect of a repealed law. In 2022, the appeal court said no court in Nigeria has the jurisdiction to try Nnamdi Kanu. And this is why Nnamdi Kanu is saying that he won't stand any charge or stand any trial under a repealed law. Because in that very 2022, the appeal court quashed all charges leveled against him. And Nnamdi Kanu is saying, how can you try me when a judgment was given in 2022? I can't stand charge under any repealed law, and it's not possible and it's unjust to stand trial against any court in this very country. Let's continue. Rather than responding to the business of the day, he took hours addressing the court on why the charges against him cannot stand. Among others, he said, the Supreme Court in the judgment that ordered his trial made it abundantly clear to the federal government to amend the charge because the one against him had been repealed. Kanu said that up till now, the charge had not been amended by the prosecution, thereby violating the order of the apex courts. What Nnamdi Kanu told them was clear. If you want to try me, you have to amend the charge. Because you can't try me under these very charges that the judgment was given in 2022. Because I have no case to answer. He told them very clear, if you are to try him, why are you trying him in a matter that has already been quashed by the appeal courts? If you are to try me, you have to amend the charges in which you are trying me for, so that I will know what you are trying me for exactly. You understand? What Nnamdi Kanu told him is very, very clear and it's very, very simple, even to those who don't understand law. If a judgment has been passed on a particular case, no other court has the right to try that very judgment again. Let's continue. The IPOB leader persistently insisted that the refusal of the federal government to amend the charge was fatal to his trial, adding that no trial can hold in a repealed law. This was Nnamdi Kanu's statement. He said the charge was fatal to his trial, that no trial can hold in a repealed law. And what he said is true. You can't hold a trial in a charge that has already been quashed by this same law you are trying him for. It is baseless to continue trying him. Let's continue. Kanu said, the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Acts has been repealed. I cannot put in defense under a repealed law. I won't do that. This was Nnamdi Kanu's statement in quotes. I read again. The Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Acts has been repealed. I cannot put in defense under a repealed law. I won't do that. I admire Nnamdi Kanu's braveness a lot because Nnamdi Kanu is so brave. Even in open courts, standing alone. He told them the law. He gave them reasons why they should release him. And what he's saying is true. It is justifiable that Nnamdi Kanu is saying the truth. That Nnamdi Kanu is saying that, look, this is a repealed law. You can't bring it again. If you are to try me, you have to amend the charges. And what Nnamdi Kanu is saying synchronizes with the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution of this very country. You can't try me under a repealed law. It's illegal to continue trying me. Let's continue. At this point, Justice Omotosho reminded him of the need to keep his gunpowder dry, but he declined, maintaining he had not seen any reason to open defense in the instant charge. At a point, he agreed to open up the defense and that he would need to consult with his 4 legal consultants. This very paragraph says that at a point, Nnamdi Kanu agreed to open a defense. But I think in the next court sitting, Nnamdi Kanu won't still open any defense. This is also a way of Nnamdi Kanu tricking them, because Nnamdi Kanu had already, in our previous paragraphs, had already said that he won't open or enter any defense. And he gave them reasons why he won't enter any defense. And at a point, Nnamdi Kanu agreed, but told them specifically that he's going to consult his lawyers. So let me read that very paragraph. He named Nnaemeka Ejiofor, Aloy Ejimakor, Maxwell Opara, and Mandela Umeborogu as his 4 legal consultants to consult. And these are the 4 persons Nnamdi Kanu will be consulting. But I can assure you that Nnamdi Kanu won't still enter any defense. This was a baseless promise. I can assure you that. Based on this, the judge repeated his plea to him to consult with legal practitioners conversant with criminal laws to aid his defense. Earlier, counsel to the federal government, Chief Adeboyega Awomolo SAN, had requested the judge to stand on the order of the courts that Kanu should open defense or waive his rights to do so. I read again. Earlier, counsel to the federal government, Chief Adeboyega Awomolo SAN, had requested the judge to stand on the order of the courts that Kanu should open defense or waive his rights to do so. This clearly shows you that Awomolo is the engineer behind Nnamdi Kanu opening his defense. You can imagine Awomolo requesting to the judge that the order of the court that Nnamdi Kanu should open his defense has to stand. You can imagine. I don't know why Awomolo has so much interest in making sure that Nnamdi Kanu is sent to prison or sent to jail. I don't know the motive. I don't know the motive, or I don't know what it will gain or profit Awomolo seeing Nnamdi Kanu go to prison. Because all these things Awomolo is doing, it is baseless. He keeps on looking for ways to touch on Nnamdi Kanu. Well, let's wrap this up. Justice Omotosho, however, said he was inclined to bend backwards again to give Kanu another opportunity to have a rethink, to open defense, or forget it. This is everything that transpired in court today. And don't also forget that this very case was adjourned again to the 7th of November. Well, at this point, I will let you guys tell me what you feel about this in the comment section below. Also, there is a lone video of a man who was protesting outside the court, calling on the United Nations that Nnamdi Kanu should be released. At this point, I'll let you watch this very video. And as you watch this video, do well to hit the subscribe bell below. Do well to like this video. And make sure you come back, because I'll be bringing you more trending updates about Nnamdi Kanu in this channel. See you in my next video updates. Bye. From the hands of terrorism.
That's our call. That's our message. Rescue Nnamdi Kanu, exercise your sovereign powers, ignite your decrees. Rescue Nnamdi Kanu. That is our call. That's our message. Global solidarity for Nnamdi Kanu is what we are calling for. Justice for one is justice for all. Injustice against one is injustice against all.